February, Lachlan Drummond, the Director of the Melbourne Office of Newspol, will be sharing his insights into research as a vital part of the communications process with guests at IABC's Victoria Be Heard. Lachlan has kindly agreed to answer a few introductory questions for us today. Hi Lachlan, how are you?
Good.
Tell me Lachlan, you talk in of your presentation being about the art of influence. Can you please explain to us why it is an art and what role does research play in that process?
Sure. In my role at Newspol, I interview CEOs. I often find myself around boardrooms and I'm attempting to convince them about the merits of the research and what we've done. Equally, I could be at home with consumers or stay-at-home mums and others. So I have to be able to influence people and get my point across from the highest boardrooms all the way through to the kitchen tables of suburban homes in Melbourne and around Australia. The reason there's an art to this is that it's part science, part theatre. Now, if I simply go in with the science, that is the stats, and say, well, 70% of your audience think this and 80% think that, people will go to sleep. It needs a bit of theatre, it needs a bit of narrative, and it needs a story that says, here are the issues, this is what happened to start with, this is what we did, here is the solution, and this is what you need to do about it. So I find that the most compelling researchers and the most credible researchers are those that use science and art to deliver the message in a way that's compelling and engaging.
What do you think are the implications for communicators of the proliferation of free and cheap online research tools that are now available? And what would be your number one tip for punters who are using these tools in designing surveys themselves?
Well, if we're talking about SurveyMonkey, my number one tip would be don't use it and come to me. But that's never going to happen. So what I would say is that SurveyMonkey has a place and tools like it. However, it needs to be used carefully. And what I tend to find, a CEO friend of mine who runs a large mail order business came to me with a SurveyMonkey questionnaire and he said to me, have a look at this, what do we need to do with it, is it okay? Now he produced a pretty good survey, I'd give it 6 out of 10, but there were some badly worded questions, the order of the questions were wrong, there were some leading questions, there were some double-barreled questions. So my number one tip is do it carefully, keep it simple, and if it's at all complex, go to a research professional because at very low cost you'll get decent advice that could improve that tool.
And Lachlan, finally, what trends are you seeing emerge at the moment in that interface between research and communications? How is research being used by communicators and are you seeing any changes in the way this is taking place?
Yeah, at Newspol we've seen and increasingly seeing a lot of changes. What tends to happen is that in years gone by, communicators and ad agency type people and marketers and so on would buy above the line advertising space. They'd buy magazine space or TV or radio. Increasingly in a fragmented media market, you're not getting as much bang for your buck. So what we're seeing is a greatly increased use of research for PR ends. So small, quick, fast turnaround questions that form the basis of some research that ends up on the front page of the Herald Sun and so on, such as, 80% of Australians think X, or more recently and controversially, the issue of those who fly the Australian flag are apparently, if we're to believe the research done out of the University of WA, more likely to be racist. Now that got front page coverage on the Herald Sun, but the question we have to ask ourselves is, was it valid? Who conducted it? And if so, how do we interpret it? So what we're seeing increasingly is the use of research for PR and communications ends because it's cheaper and it can be effective, but there are some issues associated with it.
So there you have it folks, some introductory comments from Lachlan Drummond, Director of Newspol. To hit Lachlan with your own fiery questions, be sure to come along to the next IABC Be Heard on the 21st of February. The registration details are on the website and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.